Welcome to this Women in Innovation conference. We're very excited to have you join us here today. My name is Hege. I'm the Director of Innovation Norway, Region Americas, and I'm also the Chair of this Women in Innovation initiative. With the International Women's Day fast approaching, next week on March 8th, we wanted to gather a group of women entrepreneurs, investors, tech and innovation professionals, and public policy leaders. We wanted to have people come together to explore, connect, and share ideas on how we can work together to close the gender gap. How we can support women entrepreneurs, encouraging investors to support equal access to funding, and building thriving ecosystems built on value creation and innovation. We know that the number of startups lags that of men. Why is that? The total entrepreneurial activity rate is about 3/4 that of men. Numerous surveys and reports indicate that one of the biggest concerns for women entrepreneurs is access to capital, particularly in the growth and expansion phase. So, supported by a collaboration of Nordic entities, the aim of Women in Innovation is to provide a global platform to elevate the conversation, to identify solutions to tackle this gender gap and the barriers to entry, and to create less friction for women entrepreneurs so that men and women can compete on and collaborate on equal playing fields. So thank you and enjoy the conference.
I'm First Lady of Iceland, but I'm also an entrepreneur, an immigrant, and a mother of 4 energetic young kids. So I understand what it's like to have a lot of different demands on your time and the skills it takes to puzzle it all together. I know you women taking part today recognize this too, so thank you for taking the time to invest in yourselves. To investors of the financial kind, it's time to close the funding gap and take time to make investing in women-run initiatives a priority. Not only is it going to increase your own bottom line, but it's also the right thing to do. To all of you women out there taking part today, Nordic nations are global leaders in the fight for gender equality, so you're in great hands at this Women Innovation event. The world needs your ideas and needs to hear your voices. Please persist. I and so many others stand with you. Enjoy the day.
My name is Peter Haas, the Acting Assistant Secretary of State in the Bureau of Economic and Business Affairs. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to recognize International Women's Day, which is coming up on March 8th. And within this context, I'm pleased to speak about the importance of mobilizing female business owners, entrepreneurs, and change makers who empower their communities for greater economic prosperity. My team of over 200 women and men here in Washington, D.C., and almost 2,000 economic officers around the world focus on empowering economic growth and securing our future. And as a part of that effort, diplomatic missions around the world seek to unite entrepreneurs and innovators to create opportunities for collaboration across genders and industries. Women entrepreneurs are a growing market force, serving as a critical source of innovation and job creation. And in fact, they are fueling economic growth. However, women-owned businesses are limited due to unequal access to the capital they need to establish and expand their businesses. In fact, the global credit gap for small and medium-sized enterprises owned by women is roughly $300 billion. In many countries, immature or underdeveloped financial systems do not adequately serve this missing middle, including women-owned SMEs that have financial needs beyond microfinance and whose assets do not qualify them for larger commercial loans. This holds true in both developed and developing countries. Women entrepreneurs globally lack access to markets, market information, digital and personal services, networks, and mentorship, the very things that are necessary to enable them to overcome the obstacles of starting and growing firms, as well as connecting with buyers. As with finance, some of these barriers are systemic, while others are more individualized. But despite the challenges they face, women entrepreneurs continue to chart bold new paths. When women are economically empowered, they reinvest in their families and communities, creating a multiplier effect that spurs economic growth. The American government is committed to advancing women's economic empowerment. Gender equality and women's empowerment, including women's economic empowerment, are top priorities for President Biden and Vice President Harris and their entire administration. The United States will continue to champion global women's economic empowerment, which is critical to addressing the key issues of our time, including security, healthcare, the COVID-19 pandemic, gender-based violence, climate change, and racial and economic inequality. My own team here at the State Department is vigorously implementing our Providing Opportunities for Women's Economic Rise, or POWER initiative. POWER coordinates with the private sector, both here and overseas, to find solutions to help women-owned businesses expand into global markets. Our programs are focused on advancing entrepreneurship, fostering economic growth, supporting U.S. businesses, and advancing women's economic empowerment. And we are definitely committed to succeeding in this effort. We are excited to embark on this with partners such as Google, whom we have teamed up with through the Women's Tech Founders Program. This partnership enables us to come together to leverage Google's technical expertise and the Department of State's diplomacy tools to convene like-minded partners in supporting women in the tech industry. On March 8th, International Women's Day, we are launching the first iteration of this program through partnership with host governments and our U.S. embassies in Egypt, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates. We aim to expand on this partnership and catalyze similar efforts to ensure women in all regions have access to the tools and professional networks to advance their economic and entrepreneurial endeavors. With that, I encourage everyone to take a moment and celebrate the importance of entrepreneurship and innovation, especially the creativity, strength, and vision of women entrepreneurs. I welcome everyone's support for entrepreneurs, and particularly women entrepreneurs, as they help expand the global economy. Thank you very much, and happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Nordic Innovation House, New York, for organizing the Women Innovation Conference with this timely discussion on women and entrepreneurship. Women have a natural place in economic life, like in all other aspects of society. Still, many women entrepreneurs face both visible and invisible barriers. This we need to change. It is important to offer connections and mentoring to help women entrepreneurs succeed. Social systems that support work-life balance and education also play an important role, and we need to encourage and invest in new ideas and business models. Supporting entrepreneurs of all genders means supporting equality, but also building stronger economies and societies. Especially considering the impact of the ongoing pandemic, this is a win-win opportunity that we cannot miss. Thank you.
We've seen great leadership in politics, international achievements in business, and world-class innovations offering solutions worldwide. The Women Innovation Conference gathers together a group of some of these inspiring women who have made a difference through entrepreneurship. Business and entrepreneurship should not be a question of gender. However, there is still plenty of unused potential when it comes to women in business, and lots of work remains to be done. In Finland, only around 35% of entrepreneurs are women, even though women are on average more educated than men. One way of tilting the scale is to lower both the visible and hidden hurdles facing women in business. A good example of this is sharing knowledge, supporting networks, providing mentorship, and helping women to step over the threshold of starting a business. This is also the aim of the Women Innovation Conference. Innovation and entrepreneurship go hand in hand, and we need new ideas from everyone. I would like to extend my thanks for the Nordic Innovation House for organizing this event, and wish all the participating entrepreneurs the best of luck in their future endeavors.
My name is Hlynur Gudjonsson, and I'm the Consul General for Iceland in New York and Trade Commissioner for North America. Women's economic empowerment and gender equality is a core policy for the government of Iceland. According to the World Economic Forum's Gender Gap Index, Iceland has ranked the most gender equal country for 11 consecutive years. Despite ranking high, Iceland has a long way to come, not at least in breaking trends and advancing gender equality in the private sector. Equal opportunities in education and training for girls and boys, developing ways to encourage girls to pursue careers in STEM, and ensure the promotion of women innovators and entrepreneurs. Studies have shown that factors like networking, access to role models and mentors, and access to funding affect the low level of female innovators and entrepreneurs. Therefore, we feel strongly about the work we are doing at Nordic Innovation House in New York and Silicon Valley. We are excited about the lineup of phenomenal speakers at Women Innovation and hope the dialogue will build bridges, create networks, and encourage female founders and startups to look towards North America for connections and opportunities.
Hello, I'm Harriet Berg. I'm the Norwegian Consul General here in New York. I'm pleased to welcome you today to the Nordic Women Innovation Conference that we are organizing with the Nordic Innovation House and the Nordic Consul Generals. I'm also glad to see so many Nordic and US-based startups, founders and investors supporting female entrepreneurship and globally. So much has happened since March last year at the last Women Innovation Conference. The conversation about diversity in the workplace has become a critical priority, and companies are recognizing the value of creating inclusive teams more than ever. At the same time, we see the pandemic has accelerated the adoption of new technologies as companies adopt to new ways of working, reaching customers remotely, and plan for a safe reopening. There's a great need for creative solutions to address these challenges. From my own personal experience, I know that varied backgrounds allows us to build upon a wider knowledge base and make better decisions. A recent McKinsey diversity inclusion study also confirmed that companies with executive teams made up of more than 30% women are significantly more likely to outperform those with between 10 to 30% women. The latter group also are more likely to outperform those with fewer or no women executives. Their research discovered a substantial performance difference, actually 48%, between the most and least gender diverse companies. Gender equality is one critical way to improve company performance. I'm optimistic regarding the possibilities for entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs in New York now. In spite of a difficult year, we saw venture capital investments in Q3 last year in the US exceed that of 2019. This growth in investments and startups also is reflected in global numbers. For me as a Consul General to New York, it's inspiring to see Norwegian and Nordic companies carving new paths, setting up offices or entering partnerships here in New York. This city has long been a center for entrepreneurship and a first landing for international companies entering the US market. This year, as New York continues to reopen, the recovery will provide space for companies to innovate and build New York back even better. I hope to see you all back in New York for the next chapter in New York success stories. Please reach out to us if there's anything you think we can help you with. Have a good conference.
Hello, I'm Annika Rembe, Consul General of Sweden in New York. Women Innovation is a Nordic collaboration, and I'm happy and proud that Sweden is part of it. Iceland, Finland, Norway, and Sweden are all top 4 when it comes in the World Economic Gender Gap Index for 2020. A good position. However, there are still room for improvement. And I hope that today's discussion will help us to close the gender gap a little more. This webinar is virtual. I'm happy to know that we have participants around the world. But I'm also happy that we are here in New York, a city which is proven to support female entrepreneurs in a very interesting way. Both New York City and Stockholm has made it to the Dell's 2019 Female Entrepreneur Cities Index. And I think there are important discussions and experiences to make on how cities and countries can support female entrepreneurship. Sweden has a feminist government, a feminist foreign policy, a feminist trade policy. And of course, gender equality is a core task for all government ministers, be it in policy making or in resource allocations. Economic gender equality is one of the Swedish government's priorities. The right for men and women to have the same conditions and opportunities when it comes to paid work. But it's also important to remember that the unpaid work, the time that we spend for care and homework, has to be more evenly distributed between men and women, and that also a gender equal parenting is important to move forward and to support female entrepreneurship. And I think this question is maybe even more important today during the pandemic than ever before. So I hope that today's conference will bring up interesting questions and move us all a little forward.
Hi, Charles, and all friends at Nordic InNovation House, and all attendees at this conference, Women InNovation. My name is Lars Johansson. I'm the chairperson of Silicon Vikings. We are an organization that have been helping Nordic startups and entrepreneurs do business in Silicon Valley for 25 years now. I was asked to say a couple of words about why we should support, from our perspective, women entrepreneurs. And I think the answer is very obvious and it's very immediate, because it makes us all better. It makes every organization better. And I'll give you a couple of quick examples of that. When I was at law firms, and I spent 19 years in some of the biggest law firms in the world, there was an evolution, if you will. Every year, a consultant would come and speak to the partnership and say that this is what you need to do to become more profitable and remain sustainable and so on. And there was always a focus on the hourly rates and the pricing of services. But I think some 10, 15 years ago, there was a new message of inclusion, where there was a realization that some of the best talent was lost, and that was women who left the law firm over time, who started there, and so on. And it became very clear that the best run, the most well-functioning, and the most profitable firms had a lot of women, or more women, in upper management and in management throughout the organization. This was true for us as well as Silicon Vikings. Our most notable executive directors have been women, and I'm thinking of Adiba Barney, Sarah Lerche from Norway, Charlotte Danielson for several years, all incredibly bright, talented, and great leaders in every sense of the word. And they made Silicon Vikings into what it is today. I think I want to give one example from a client too, which I think is kind of shows the trend in Silicon Valley. And they are about to either sell the business for hundreds of millions of dollars, or take one of 3 term sheets that they received from tier 1 VCs. And when they went out in the marketplace to hire the best of the best in their minds in AI, they ended up hiring 4 out of 5 were women last year. And I think that is a trend. So I think, and it's also notable for many clients that one of the big risk factors, is to finding the right people, being able to hire the people and then retain the people. I think that risk factor always goes down for clients that have women in management positions and so on. So that's another reason. I would feel remiss if I didn't mention that I have always been impressed at a distance by Nordic Innovation House, how that collaboration came together, and all the good things they have done over the years, both in New York and in Silicon Valley. And not for a second, I think one should forget the work by some incredibly talented women leaders within that organization. I have worked more with Nordic Innovation House in Silicon Valley and by great leaders and great women leaders, and they made it into what it is today. So on that note, I hand it back to you, Charles, but I wish you all the best and look forward to speaking with you sometime soon. Thank you.